Hey folks, so it's the moment you've been waiting for. We're gonna start spending some time in the garden because spring is not officially here. We still have some frozen nights. The nights are still between 30s and 40s degrees Fahrenheit, so somewhere between 0 and 8 degrees Celsius. I always have to translate for my European friend here.
And Canadian.
And Canadian. And Ethiopian. I'm sure they all use Celsius. We're the only knuckleheads that use Fahrenheit. Not a tremendous amount growing, but you have to look really closely. And I really love showcasing the garden in the spring for that reason, because it's almost unbelievable what it looks like in June, July, August, September, October, and then it's winter again. But you'll see that we had quite a bit of crocuses come up, but here we're having some tulips. So these are some small tulips that are coming up, and you'll start to see different leaves. The magnolia, you'll notice, is not in bloom, and I was just in New York City, and their magnolias are in full bloom. And in Ithaca, which is not too far from us, their magnolias are just starting to bloom. So I would say we're a good 2 weeks behind schedule. I mean, this is not even looking like it's threatening to put out any flowers or leaves quite yet.
And this had some deer browse, right?
It had a lot of deer browse. So
surprisingly.
The good news is we finished our deer fence.
Yeah. So far, so good.
For now.
We're going to keep these on for a little bit. We have to make it through April and May.
It's hard to be confident, you know, when you have, but now it's the official deer fence, and we've, you know, walked the perimeter. There's a couple places where there's a tree that fell on it, but it didn't like destroy the fence. We were able to easily fix it. Whew, fingers crossed, because this is kind of fawning season, and that's when we get the most pressure on our land. And for right now, it's been pretty good. You'll see that I've planted a bunch of tulips in here. Again, these are all quite late, probably 2 weeks behind schedule. I was looking at some videos that we shot just like a year ago, and we were planting a lot of things up in March, and a lot of things were blooming in March. And we have not much in bloom now, except maybe for these hyacinths. So you'll see that we have this nice peachy kind of apricot colored hyacinth over here. And there's some more bulbs coming up. This is valerian. This is a great medicinal. Use it for the root. I might actually have to remove some of this because they're excellent cedars as well. And I don't want this whole bed to be valerian, but I might actually dig up some of these roots and use them. And then you see all these little red buds coming up. I'm not sure what this is. I don't want to guess. It's all a surprise. I did plant a lot of our native geraniums. The thyme has really taken off. So this is some of the paving thyme that I had showcased. I had a couple different varieties that I did. I'll link back to that video. But you'll also see this pycnanthemum is trying to move over into this bed from here. So this is a mint. It's a mountain mint. People might not want to do mints because they spread really, really good. They're really effective at spreading. One of the things that is in bloom that you may not recognize, you smell that?
Oh,
it smells so good. Here, I planted a Antinaria, which is a little, it's called pussy toes. So demure. It's hard to see them. This is the plant that is the host plant for our Vanessa butterfly. And you could see just the cute little cotton ball style flowers, like a little cluster of flowers here. Very low to the ground, perfect for a sunny paver. I got a number of plugs, plant plugs, and I planted them all up along this edge. I like a crisp edge, but I also like an edge that just kind of fades into it. And I think this is gonna be a good look. We have Corten steel edging, so I'll tell you a little bit about our projects this year so you know what to expect. We have a bunch of Corten steel edging that we got maybe a year or 2 years ago now. We haven't put it in yet, but we are going to put it in this year. We have to determine whether we want to put it around the entire garden with this, or we just want a clean edge around where the grassy areas are. I'm kind of on the fence on that one. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I like to see this kind of hazy edge, especially around the walk paths.
I think you should do the metal edging here, but because it also can help prevent some of these stones from sinking in. And it doesn't have to stick out that far. It could just be very subtle, but.
Okay, Sandra and I are on opposite sides of the fence. So let me know what you think.
Oh boy. Steel or no steel? Where the stones are.
Now this is interesting. I did not plant this here. This is one of our native cornices, or it could have been a cultivated cornice, but I didn't plant this here. These are so easy to propagate. You basically clip it and stick it. You can see that it was heavily deer browsed, which is fine because in order to keep these red stems, you need to cut these back anyway. If I was in here, I would have probably cut it back to maybe a bud right around here. So maybe there's like 3 to 6 inches below. But you could see they have these beautiful striking red stems. This could get to a pretty big bush. So I would probably either take this up out of the herb garden because it really doesn't belong here, or just keep it really tight. What's interesting too is that we planted some beautiful quince, flowering quince, and you could see that this has a lot of swollen buds here, and this is going to be really beautiful flowers. We have 3 of them here, so there's 2 at the end right there. They could also get pretty large. Maybe this will navigate from being an herb bed to being another type of flower bed. We're not sure. It's just like your garden changes over time. This is our shade garden. You could see some of the trilliums that we have planted have popped up, which is really nice to see. There's been quite a few trilliums. You could see one over there, a few over here. But there's also been browse here as well because we have a chubby, a groundhog we call Chubby. But I noticed when I came back from New York that Sonder had plugged up his hole right here.
Yep. Yep. No more crawling under the deck.
No more shenanigans in my shade garden.
In our driveway.
Look at this.
Would they eat some of these plants or not? Would they leave them generally
I mean,
alone?
he likes to eat out of our lawn, to be honest.
Yeah,
but,
they eat mostly grass, right?
well, they eat the clover. They like the clover. They like the dandelion. But he's come in here a few times.
Oh, it's a buffet.
Now,
it's a very nice buffet.
This is sad because we had a lot of deer browse here. And this was an exquisite bush. This bush has been through a lot. It's a prostrate northern spruce. This one's even broken here, but it still looks like it's alive. So we had gutters put on our house. You can see the copper gutters up here on the common
trouble
house.
Started.
That's where it started.
It's really hard to get to that part of the house without having to stand here or put a ladder. So
we lost this whole part through that because he put the ladder right on it. That was the first mess. And then the second mess is this. It's completely eaten. You could see the areas that hadn't been eaten, like in the middle, they couldn't get to it, but they walked around the edge.
And the deer usually don't eat this. So
they
that's
do
why
not.
we're
We've never
really
had this
strange
eaten,
about it.
even in the heaviest of years of winter. Maybe because it was under snow. That could also possibly be the situation. So some of this is not going to come back, but luckily this Acer palmatum basically will cover it with its leaves, and hopefully it will bounce back and I could cut off some of the bedraggled areas. We'll see. This is not as bad as some of the areas I'm about to show you, which is going to be another project. Over here, things are just starting to come up. I think this is the Lysimachia right here, which is this red-leaved variety. But the Lysimachia is a specialist plant for our resin bees. So I try to get the native varieties as well as, or the native species as well as some of the nativars or the cultivars. And we got some great sedums coming up here along the edge. You know, when I planted this, it was sparser than what it is now, but the garden just continues to grow and seed, and you have to figure out what to delete and what to keep. Here's some beautiful sedums. I actually went to the Home Depot, and they had one of those like sedum salad bowls. You get it in a tray actually, or you get a bowl of it. But this one was a tray. And I took them out and I just kind of popped them around the edge, so I think that looks really sharp. Some more of those antenarias because I wanted to plant those for our pollinators. And here we go. This is the geraniums. This will get basically filled with geraniums all throughout here, which is very beautiful. Penstemon comes up here. And then in the fall, we get just massive amounts of sneezeweed and whatnot. So you see some of our hyacinths are coming up here. This is a less peachy variety. I feel like this is a more bright fuchsia color. We had some deer damage here, unfortunately. Like, let me show you this. This was an exquisite hydrangea quercifolia. There are some buds left on this. This is the type of hydrangea that does not, there's some hydrangea that you want to get clipped down to the lowest part. This is not that one. So this is one of our native hydrangeas, and the deer unceremoniously clipped it, but you can see there are still buds on it. So I'm gonna let this go, but this one was relatively high, and it was hidden behind some Euthamia graminifolia, which is one of our native goldenrods. And so the deer never touched it throughout the year, so I never put a ring around it, our old fence. And this is a great example. This is a hydrangea that hasn't been eaten because it has, a fence around it. Look at all these beautiful buds though. I mean, this is our purple leaf sand cherry that's coming out. And then I have a tree over here that is a cross between a sorbus and a hawthorn. So this should give some pretty cool flowers and berries. And look at how this Antenaria has taken off. In with the thyme, in with a bunch of weeds, in with a bunch of five fingers. I mean, this is just, it's a tapestry.
That's a nice look.
It's a really nice look, isn't it?
That probably prevents a lot of weeds from being able to
Yeah, I mean, you'll see
establish, too.
some. Like I didn't plant, I don't even know what this is, but you could see it's starting to spread. So that's really nice.
But even if there are weeds, it's hard to tell if there are any.
Exactly, and
Kind of hides them.
because they're so low, you could hit this with a mower or a string trimmer, and you're not going to hit these plants because they're so low. Now I have a lot of plants like this, and I can't remember what this one was. Maybe it'll be interesting to see. It's too soon. I mean, I planted a lot of...
I mean, this garden can really convince you that everything is just dead. In the winter, it just looks...
Oh, it looks sad.
It looks sad, but then it comes back in full force.
Now I did plant some irises in here, not part of the plan, but my mom brought them up. She brought a bunch of divisions up, and I said I would take them, and I was like, gosh, where am I gonna plant them now? When somebody gives you a plant and you're like, yeah, I'll take it. You don't have a plan. Yeah, so that's in here. The tulips. This is all ranunculus. This is all buttercup. It's very wet over here, and the buttercup seems to love it.
That's right.
Yeah, it comes into the garden. So it's too hard to fight, so I was just like, I'm accepting of it over here. Some more hyacinths in the back are kalmias, and then some more bushes. I'm gonna be very curious to see how these bushes look, because we planted this garden, what would you say, about 2.5 years ago now?
Could be.
It was like in October. It's definitely been over a year, but this was the latest garden that we planted up here. This was one of the first, which is our pollinator garden. And you'll see some of these tulips are so sharp. Look at these leaves. They're like pinstriped with this kind of rougey maroon color and this light green. I see some alliums coming up, all these little kind of funky tentacle ones. Our little toad home, or butterfly home, needs to be straightened up. I think I'll do an episode on some of these amazing apple trees. These are apples that if you're really short on space, they grow very vertical. They don't grow that wide. Depending on the variety, they may grow somewhere between 4 and 6 feet wide, and maybe 8 feet tall at max, 8 to 10 feet tall at max. So people with a 1/4 acre backyard or in community gardens, or who don't want a big tree in a garden like here, those are really great examples, and I'll have some more examples down the line. Here's some more of that sedum. Now this is this is where I fight the most grass, and it's partially because we have some burrowing animals in here as well, and they kind of kick things up. And then we never really, I guess, killed officially the grass, or some of the grass may have seeded in here. Oh, look what's up, geums. This is one of our native geums, or avens it's often called, and this is just going to start to bloom. Our geraniums have really spread throughout here, and this is going to be one of our alliums again. See, almost like the big ox tongue look. Now let's go over here, because this is another plant that has seen some significant deer browse, but you'll see some flower buds. So this will look really odd this year. It's balding on the sides and it's got all the flowers on the top.
Wow, it's the opposite of me.
Opposite of many men. Yeah.
But it comes back, right? Like, I think it got
takes a
deer
year.
browsed a year before, and then it all of a sudden it came back
It
really
takes
big.
a year.
Like, it was like twice the size when it came back.
The sad thing is this usually times its flowers around the time that the hummingbirds come. And the hummingbirds will be really dismayed when they find that there's only little bits of these flowers. But it looks like what survived was our Prunus pumila variation depressas here. So these have lots of great buds on. They were fruiting last year. I see a lot of grass in here though. This would be difficult for me to take up because this is really woven in between. So hopefully it's not gonna be that bad. This area always got kind of kicked in because we did so much construction here and then this platform, and it was hard to...
This is where a garden edge would really help.
Yeah, I think so. Although this again kind of comes over.
Yeah, but even you could still have stuff come over if
Yeah,
there's
but
a
maybe-
little edge for a 1 inch sticking
Yeah,
out. 'Cause
put
you
it-
have the stones as well. Like,
Yeah, put it in, because this is a great example. This is where this is I would say a more affordable option of Corten steel that we went with just to get like a small amount of it to see if we liked it, and we really did like it. So we were like, okay, we'll invest in getting it in bulk. This is going to be one of our cornices. This is a Cornus cusa. It's still kicking. There's some dead twigs on it as well, but sometimes I keep those on just so I could hang a bird feeder off of them and whatnot. So I kind of leave these dead sticks on. Let's walk over here. So this is our bulb lawn. I've been gone for a week. Sandra said the weather has been terrible. And we had a really beautiful display of crocuses. I got some very good shots that I could throw up on the screen for you so that you could see kind of what it looked like with the crocuses. So now we're getting prepared for these plants. So this was also pretty vibrant this year. This Corydalus, Beth Evans. I was not expecting so many of these because we didn't plant that many. And this year they were very prolific. You can't see because they're on their way out now. You see a little bit more over there.
Look how many tree swallows there are above the pond.
So there was one pair of tree swallows that came on May 10th, and they came to check out that and that house over there, and then they flew away March 10th. Thinking it's May already. On March 10th they came and they left, and then it was still very cold. And then I saw them on another date, I think like somewhere in the 20s, like March 23rd or something. There were a couple more, four more. And then they left, and then it was cold again, and then now they're all throughout here. I saw them sitting over on the white one over there. You were getting dive bombed here, right?
Well, I had to do some work on that camera that's in that box.
Yeah.
And I took the birdhouse down. The tree swallow came literally, like, I looked up in the sky and he came straight at me confidently and like 10 inches away from my face. He flew right up.
They're very aggressive here.
And they have such a mean face too. So it's like, I don't know. It looked like I was getting a dive bomb in the face, but I survived.
So here is our native bluebells, Mertensia virginica, I think. This one's starting to bud up. I have to do some weeding here. You can see some of the grass pushing through, which is my frenemy. It's fine out here, not in here, you know. So how does the grass know? The bulb lawn, hopefully this year, it's always a surprise every single year. We don't know what's gonna happen. You know, we didn't have many tulips last year. We're gonna have tulips this year. It looks like we're gonna have some tulips this year though, because I see a lot of tulip leaves. You're right, Sandra, it's the ones with the
Yeah, it's
pink
almost like
edging.
the little peace sign
Yeah.
sticking up out of the grass. And you see a lot of those, even though they're green.
Yes.
It looks like nothing's here, but
You gotta look really close into the bulb lawn until the yellow flowers come up. I didn't think I would like the tulips so much, but the tulips are kind of one of my favorite in the lawn because they contrast so well. I think the saddest situation, which will definitely be a future episode, is how much my 4-season garden got obliterated by the deer this year. I mean, literally obliterated. it's bad. And I'd say that there's probably, I would say $1,000 worth of damage in here, which is why we have invested in putting up a deer fence. This was like one of the only plants we were able to save
out of our previous,
what
was here before.
Before we moved here, yeah. We have lots of shots of me, Sonder, and Joey tearing up this garden. Actually, it was mostly you and Joey. I mean, I was helping a little bit, but I think I tapped out part of that day. So if we take this up by the roots like we did initially with some of those other plants, we'd rip up the whole garden. So we're gonna have to cut this off at the base, and I'm going to have to deal with the roots. But I've already bought a like kind of plant. I'm either gonna go same plant or similar plant to these gardens, but they're not gonna be as big. I mean, they just can't be.
Yep.
So.
And we're doing a lot, like we fixed our deer fence now, but that still doesn't mean they can't get in. They might get in, but we're planning to put up a camera system that's able to recognize deer. So then if there's a deer in here, we'll at least know, and we can immediately kick him out.
Everything got eaten. These, I'm gonna have to replace almost every single one of these. Like there's nothing left. This is the Arborvitae Fire Chief. This one, it was shaped like a triangle, no longer. The Mahonia always gets hit. This one's, but it usually bounces back all right. And it's a deciduous, so it's used to losing its leaves. So this is sad. I mean, this is gonna be a whole other project. And same over there, same over with the Memorial Garden. There's a lot of coniferous plants over there that don't look like much at this stage. You can see the daffodils are popping out though. So these are ones that predated us. They kind of come up in the garden where they want, and I just have to oblige. So this is gonna be an interesting project. I'll show you this. I wanna keep this mowed down a bit better than what we had before. So during one of the winter freezes, this side of the tree cracked. And so we created this brace. You can see the crack right through here. It was a really bad break. We created this brace that's cut out, and Sonder can lessen it and allow it to grow. So we're gonna see what puts out leaves this year, because this side might be totally dead, and if that's the case, then I'll have to cut it here with like a sawzall or something.
Oh, this one grew really fast, didn't it?
Yes, because this is a purple robe locust. So locust trees grow really fast. This has purple flowers, and it's one of those pioneer species that grows up significantly fast and then dies fast. Oh,
I think that box is taken.
There's like 3 or 4 families fighting over that right now. Now there's no need for them to fight because we have like 70 boxes.
Yeah, but this is the prime spot.
This is the prime spots. All right, we'll head over to the orchard. And this is one of our pear trees, I believe, maybe a bosque.
There you go, untouched.
Untouched.
I like to see that.
Oh, and I'll tell you, this orchard was a challenge over the years because we experienced drought. We experienced 2 years of spongy moth. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. So we had to replace a few trees here and there. I may have to replace a couple still, but it's been better. The shrubs are what, got hit. So you can see that this has some buds, but you can see all the tops had been eaten off by the deer. This should be exciting, the interstitial this year. We have quite a bit of crab apples that have come up. Probably not our native ones. These are ones that, had maybe escaped from the nursery. This is one of the ones that we've planted, and I've planted some purple and red leaf varieties, which are kind of controversial. So if you're like a native planter and you want to attract specialist insects that eat leaves, then they usually don't eat the red ones, which some people would be like, well, I don't want insects eating leaves. That looks awful. So, you might want to have some red leaf varieties. They tend to stay away from those. But because the owner here prior to us had a lot of red and purple leaf varieties, we figured we would kind of dot that throughout so that we have the same language. But these are great flowering plants. This one is Centurion crabapple tree. And this is very pretty. I have a number of them throughout. And my idea for this interstitial area, interstitial between the forest and the meadow, is to have a lot of flowering trees. Many of them native, some of them not, and some of them cultivars. And a lot of flowering trees and shrubs so that when people are coming up the driveway, at least in a certain part of the year, it's gonna look beautiful. One of our other projects that you have to fill me in on is, I think we're gonna try to get a chicken coop this year.
Oh man. Throwing that on top is challenging.
It's challenging, it's not ideal.
Why does it have to happen now?
Okay, so I was just in Brooklyn and they're having such a hard time finding volunteers for the chicken coop that I always volunteered at for 7, 8, 9 years. I don't even know how long I volunteered there. It's so hard to find in a city of how many people? 8 million people?
8 million people.
You can't find reliable people to come to a chicken coop and open up and feed them.
Nope.
Anyway, the chickens were in dire straits. They had mites, they had worms, nobody was paying attention to them. It's just too much for some of the volunteers there. So I want to be in a position where I could take the chickens if need be. And I talked to Sonder and we started to sketch up some things. And the ideal situation is that I have a duck, dove, chicken coop. We free up that space that's not painted right there. That becomes a little cabin, but right now that's where the doves are. But we figured we can maybe make this work if we build it in a modular fashion. So that comes in with Sonder's design skills and siting skills to think through, how we're going to place this. Do you want to talk about it a little bit, or do you just want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, well, so I looked at this with Matt, who helps us with a lot of earthwork and foundation.
He's our
stuff.
neighbor.
And, given that this is a project stacking on top of other projects, I think we should just let him do most of the structure. And then we could just fill it in with the easy stuff. And this thing could be quite long. If you look at that barn, it's 50 feet from front to back. This structure here with all your duck, dove, chicken things going on,
Yeah.
could be 60 feet.
Could be.
This is it could be more. So we want to make sure that it fits in the landscape in an interesting way. And we kind of looked at this location here, and it seems to fit really nicely because you're up against the forest. You're getting the sun in the morning.
Right.
And you're getting more shade at night.
So.
And you have this beautiful oak tree here that can be kind of like arching over the coop.
Right.
Hopefully not falling on it. There's also a really nice maple here. And there's some trees here that can get cleared out.
There's
like
a lot.
Some of these
Even
are
that
ash.
bush right here it's not special.
Like this ash here is dying.
Yeah,
so
that would need to come out.
it comes out, and you could see this little hill here could be pushed over to this area because there is a bit of a slope.
Yeah, you could see it.
So this probably will be like kind of a stair step design where, each section of your coop will be, but the idea is to build the chicken part first.
Yeah.
And then build the other sections later.
Around it so that we don't incur so much of the cost up front. Now, originally, I had shown a video where I was thinking this would be a good area because it's already quite flat. But
well, there's still slope from right to left.
Right, there's still a slope, but it's flatter than that from my eye, like if I walk this way. But the other thing that it would block is that this area we would like for us to have like an agroforestry where we have pawpaws and persimmons. And now that we have pushed the deer fence back, like the deer fence used to be here, now it's back there. And so we're in a better position. I mean, this has a lot of great sun too, but
yeah, look at it right now, actually. Like this is mostly in the shade.
Yeah.
And that's actually in the sun.
But during the day it shifts.
It does shift.
Yeah.
And we can actually take a bunch more trees out of here as well because there's a lot in here that can go.
We like the forest is like a good summer project when we're not renovating because it's so hot in the summer and working in the forest is quite nice. But the forest has been obviously on our mind. We've done some videos on like our forest Femmelschlag, like our projects that we want to do in the forest, agroforestry. those have all been kind of pushed off to the side as we finish a lot of these renovations. And these things come up like with the chicken coop.
Foresting and tree work is like infinite exercise option.
Yes.
You go out there, it's hard labor, and then you could keep doing it forever because there's just so many trees to take out and cut down and to manage. And
Yeah.
it's just never ending.
Well, let's. I think we'll skip over to another project that I'll show you, and then we'll go down to the meadow house to see that, and then we'll kind of share what else we're going to be working on after that.
This is where I think we should put another camera in that box.
Yeah.
Because it's so close to this point where I'm gonna run camera equipment to. Mm-hmm. Plus it has power, which allows us to extend it. From here, we can extend it another 600 feet.
That's
in
crazy.
any direction.
That's crazy.
So.
Look at the tree swallows. I think there's a duck in that box though. We have so many mergansers and ringneck ducks. I saw common mergansers. We have wood ducks, mallards, Canada geese. There's a lot of really interesting ducks this year, and they seem to be sticking around, which is great. Okay, we could finally show you this area because we have extended the deer fence closer to where our natural border is for our property line. And this is...
Yeah, it used to be right here, right?
Yeah.
You kind of see it from the grass.
It used to be right here, you know, it kind of cut into. So Sandra and I spent a lot of time actually cutting out some of the honeysuckles. You'll see that we have a lot of native cornices planted in here, which I'd actually like to plant more cornices. Yes, that's a honeysuckle coming up. And this is where you may recall another video that I said that there's cool stumps that we could actually start a stumpery here. This is a tree that just was cut down and has formed...
Not just, it's been cut down for...
a while, and it's formed like great
10 years,
moss.
Maybe.
It was covered in honeysuckle, so we still have to come in here and really cut some of it out because you can see it's kind of growing through. Look at the lichen in here. Look at the lichen and the moss.
Well, this area is really in the shade for most of the day because of these trees.
Right.
So it does bring a lot of moss with it.
You know, this is a multi-year project, but I went in here and I seeded this area up. The funny thing is I had to get 2 rounds of seeds because it's such a big compost pile.
And this used to be what? The old compost from
This
the
is where they
previous
threw
nursery.
everything, anything that they couldn't sell, that they didn't plant, they just kind of tossed it back here. So it's a combination of like native soil and just like, you know, it's wet. It's really wet. You're gonna get your shoes wet. What I like about this is
Plant
that,
tags everywhere.
yeah, there's a lot of tags in here because this used to be like an old like nursery coffin, I guess. This is where they threw all the plants to come to die. But what it affords us now is an excellent opportunity to plant trees and shrubs in this, because it's hard to plant trees and shrubs in this kind of rocky area with all this grass. This is a really ample opportunity to go in here and like landscape this. So I kind of want to move quickly on it, and I already seeded it up. So, you know, if I take up some of the seeds as I'm planting a tree, it's no big whoop. But you can see there's a lot of seedlings coming up already. And I'm assuming these are the things that I had seeded in here. So this should be pretty exciting to do. I'm thinking of bringing in quite a lot of color here and taking a cue from that cornice with the red stem. So maybe we could do red, orange, yellow, and mimic some trees that also have that red, orange, yellow. I did a little bit of that in the interstitial area that I had just showed you. So that way when you're looking at this from the barn or the meadow house and you're looking over, you're gonna see this kind of brilliant color along the edge. It will draw you over here, I think, and it extends the property line a bit further because people are curious. They want to go and see what all that color might be, as opposed to just having like green. And I'd like to bring in some more of our native species to kind of break up all this non-native pinus, like Scots pines. Basically, there's a lot of Scotch pines back here that had been planted New York had these policies where they planted them for lumber, they planted them for Christmas trees, and one of my friends said, oh, there might be some red pines in here, but I hadn't really seen any red pines. Most of it's Scotch. So yeah, this is, Matt actually helped us with the earth moving here, and it's a little wet behind here, but eventually this could be a nice little path behind as well. So just projects, millions of projects we're working on. Every stick here has a tree planted in it. We went through here after we mowed earlier, and we found out that, you know, there's a few trees that either got cut over or eaten down, so those are no longer. But we figured dotting trees throughout the meadow is going to look very nice, especially around the border, to kind of, you know, give us a little bit of a border between us and our neighbors.
Willow.
This willow is a really nice border tree. And, you know, if we wanted more of this on our border, this would just be so easy. Absolutely. Just cut it, cut a stem.
Get that started.
Pop it in. So those are projects that are definitely on our list of things to do. We have all of our duck houses out. You'll see a duck house in the distance. Some of them are being populated by tree swallows, but we have so many tree swallow and bluebird boxes here that if there is severe pressure, then they will have to settle for second best. Look at them, so good. All right, this is one of our weeping cherry trees. And you can see that it's still in bud. I really, honestly, you're right, Sandra, I didn't miss anything when I was gone for like the last 10, 12 days. My goal with this one is that you see these often in botanic gardens or Japanese gardens, and they just kind of hang over near the pond and reflect in the pond. We planted this a little bit further back, but I think this will be a gorgeous tree. We have a sycamore here.
It's gonna hang over the path here.
Yeah, it'll hang over the path. It'll feel good. You can always plant another one. We have a weeping katsura over here that is half alive. I'll show you the area that we had killed back with the grass, with the black plastic, and show you some of the progress with that. So last year, we went ahead and I planted some trees and shrubs in here. These are trees and shrubs that won't get more than like 15 feet high. Some of them are just gonna be around 8 feet high. And I just wanted to dot them throughout. There's one that I still have to plant, maybe that one with the stick. I'd like to get a larger tree there. So that way, when you're sitting at the meadow house, you can look in and you'll see a meadow, but then you also have lots of interesting trees to look at that are flowering trees. So we had covered up most of these so that we wouldn't get deer browse. I would say that a lot of them are like Cercis, like Eastern Redbud, Cornus. This one, I'm not sure if this is gonna bud this year. This one is the only one that I have a question on, and then there was another medlar.
Still alive then?
It's
flexible.
It's flexible, but I don't see the buds like really busting out. So we'll see. This one is kind of on the edge of our grow zone. So that was my only question with this one. There's a couple that I planted that are on the edge and failed the experiment. And there's others that I've planted that are on the edge and have shown me that they're cold hardier than they are supposed to be. Now here's where we planted some of our plants in here. So you have to look really close. Here's one, here's one, here's one. We got some, here's one right here. Here's one right over there. So they're growing. These were all plugs, and then I seeded some. And this summer, I'm gonna seed some grass again in here because we have leftover grass seed, our native blue stem. And we're doing this in stages. So we've killed this grass, planted other things. There's some weed seeds that are moving in, which is expected, but I'm not going to really worry about them too much because they're more annuals. And then I'm gonna kill that one, and I'm probably gonna kill another section in the back. And our goal is to keep, where the trees are planted, to keep it mowed a bit more. I think that's probably the way to go. Same with this side. So a lot of these plants are planted in here all throughout. You'll see some maybe purple leaf varieties. I have some interesting grasses that are coming up in here that are more native compared to the canary reed grass that we had growing. Exciting news on the side of the barn. This is a barn owl box, but what we found is that we have a kestrel, I think, living in there now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kind of cool. So we got some plants that I got some at Home Depot that the muscari are ones that we have planted in the phlox. This is bulbs that we had planted in that are coming up. The aranthus were coming up already. We have some tulips. This is some primula. And we have our clematis that will be growing up here. And we have a rose that's right here. So I'm hoping that this will bloom this year. This is one of our arbor roses. Now, we had some challenges because I brought these out, and you can see this has been very successful, but we had some chipmunks and squirrels and groundhogs eat some of the bulbs, but it's still pretty good. There's some that have been ransacked a bit more than usual. Yeah, so you can see that they've had, like, they're eating their nuts in here as well. Yeah, so we'll see. Time will tell whether anything will emerge out of here. But you will see that we've made some progress. I'm not supposed to have yellow daffodils. I think somebody sent me the wrong ones, unless they were like free ones, and I decided these were supposed to be white daffodils in here. So this is
insane.
A heck of a lot of tulips. It kind of tapers off here, and it gets denser and denser up this way. Some crocuses fell in here though. I did not intend to plant any crocuses, but there's some that came up. Maybe an animal dug them up and put them in. So this should be very exciting. I would say May. I think because everything is so late, we may see a lot of blooms all happen in early May, early to mid-May, and it might all come at once, which is going to be pretty exquisite. We might not have a year like that again. The hyacinths have come up though. These are really dark purple varieties, like really deep, deep purples. And you can see I have some multi-headed tulips coming up here. Not sure what variety those are. We had some excellent crocuses throughout that. You were kind of like missing the crocuses from earlier this year. I got some shots of that I'll show you. And then this is some of our achillea that has, it's moonshine, I think. It's got nice yellow umbelliferous tops, flat topped. But the tulips, we have camassia that are growing in here. That's kind of the more grassy leaved varieties right here. And I had no idea how this is going to go, but some of these are early blooming, mid blooming, and late blooming tulips. But like I said, they might all bloom at once. There's some things that I need to replace. So I got this nice seating arrangement here, which I've been sitting at and doing some of my work. It's very pleasant to be out here in the garden, especially when I feed the birds out here. There's a lot of activity. But I think I'll probably replace some of the succulents in here. And then this garden, if you recall, we put all of this in last year. Sonder was amazing. We worked on this edging down here together. This is an aluminum edging. It's not a steel edging. It's not Corten steel, but I'll show you some of the work that we did there. We had some of our Espoma product that we're so thankful for. We had a lot of the seconds, and we actually created these raised beds. And then when Sonder came in and started putting this edging in, I basically took some of that Espoma and just kind of edged it so it's a nice, it's not like bulked up, it's just like a nice slope. But we see some lilies growing in here, some alliums. This is all of our grasses, which come up later in the year. So this is going to be very exciting to see, because this is really our first year of seeing this grow. All of our trees in here, so these are trees and shrubs that should give us a little bit of privacy from the road. And one of the other things that I've determined is we have this amazing wisteria. I mean, wisteria is so controversial because in areas south of here, it could become more invasive. Last year was the first year I think it actually ever flowered, because it takes sometimes 10 years for wisteria to flower. So we're keeping this, we're kind of training it up on another post. And then we have some of our native vines that we're planting in and around here. And I've determined that I really love the look of Lonicera Kinsley's Ghost. We have it planted up in our gazebo, which we actually didn't show you. We kind of skipped that part. But I would actually like to plant some more of that around in this area and maybe even in the raised bed over there on the house. So I'm getting a few more of those this year. That will be another project. I also brought some plants out here that we had. You'll see that early on in the year, we were doing layering of bulbs, and they're just starting to come up now. And you can see that some of them are really shy, just starting to come up. So I don't know what happened on this side, but maybe they're still yet to come up. And then I got some dianthus that I planted in here. And then over here, which I'm impressed by, I had cut these daffodils probably 2 weeks ago, and they still look amazing. It's kind of unbelievable. This looked like it got frozen.
Yeah, we had one night where it was really cold and snowing.
Same with these tulips, but they look like they're still about to bloom, even though some of the leaves got scorched. But look at how nice these look. This is unbelievable. I caught these like 2 weeks ago. So
They're tough.
Yeah, so I'll show you some of those daffodils. I don't like how they're coming up in a lot of the beds, but I actually don't mind them in the slightly wild areas.
I actually just realized how well they go with the yellow in the barn.
I know. So here's another project. I got some daylilies, cultivated daylilies that I color matched with the barn. And I wanted to have a planter where I could have daylilies. And Sonder like kicked my planter over here because he does not like it.
Bust my shins on this thing 3 times now. It's
So
out of here.
now I have to figure out either a new planter
We
or a
gotta
new
build
place.
one, but you gotta have patience because I can't build everything.
Yeah,
at
but the
same
daylilies
time.
are here now.
And they'll be here next year.
I
Put 'em
gotta
somewhere
plant
else.
them. So anyway, look at these daffodils. They're everywhere. I mean, there's thousands of them. We have some more along the edge over there, beyond the gate. And I just come in here and I just clip them. And I mean, honestly, these are the greatest gifts. You can make bouquets of daffodils and give them to our friends. They look lovely. I mean, it's the one thing that's blooming. It's the one thing that deer don't eat, which is why they're so prolific. And I think when this was a nursery, there was probably a lot of bulbs that they couldn't sell. And they're like, all right, well, let's just toss them here and there. I think the daffodils have a way of pulling themselves down deeper. That's what I suspect. They pull themselves down really deep into the earth because they are really deep in some of those garden beds, and they still manage to push up. Because typically when I'm planting a daffodil, it's like, 6 inches, maybe 7 inches deep. And some of these are like 12, 13, 14 inches down in like a raised bed. So, but it could be over time where it just, the humus builds up. But very impressed with them. I did not like them as much as at first, but now I'm kind of like amenable to them. But this is our spring garden. So there's still some more to show, but I think we'll stop here, and this will give you a little delight for the eyes, hopefully, and show you what's to come in the coming weeks and months.
If you're keen on videos like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Now that the weather is warming up, we'll be working more in the landscape, but also have plenty more renovations to do as well, so stay tuned for more here at Flock.